Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and in this video I'm going to review Season 4, Episode 16 of Glee, Feud. Oh my gosh, this episode was freaking amazing, and I loved everything about it. By far the best episode of the season. It was just so amazing. Now, I actually wasn't expecting a lot from this episode except the songs. I thought the plot seemed kind of I thought this was just going to be a silly type of episode, but boy was I wrong. This was a very highly developing episode for a lot of characters. We have a lot to talk about, so let's get to it. And the first thing I want to talk about is, of course, Will and Finn. The main plot, they actually showed the flashback where Finn told Will he kissed Emma, and that's how it began. And so basically, the Glee Club picks the assignment for them to have feuds. And they decide that since Will and Finn can't fix anything, they're going to perform a song together. And Finn is very mature about this. He's basically trying to get Will to say, you know, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it. And Will just does not want to hear it. He said he wants to forgive him, but he can't forgive him, he said. And we got a very big thing where Will tells Finn the only reason he had the Glee Club was because he was lost and Will felt he needed something. So I thought that was really interesting how that all worked out. I wasn't expecting that at all. I did always wonder why Finn got the Glee Club, but I thought that was really interesting how Will revealed it like that. I thought that was really cool. In the end, they do end up performing the song together, and, you know, they ask for them to hug, and in their minds they're fighting with each other, but they decide that, you know, the friendship is over. So, Finn then decides to leave because he feels he really shouldn't be there if Will's not going to appreciate him, and people are just going to be, you know, this way to him. And Marley then, love this part. I absolutely love this part because out of all people, Marley sees Finn and she tells him, you can't let, you know, Will define you. You can't let him tell you what to do. And she basically tells Finn that he actually is a very good leader and teacher and that she's really going to miss him. And he says that he doesn't have a teaching degree, and she tells him to get a teaching degree. I think this is going to be fantastic. I think it's going to be very interesting to see if Finn does become a teacher, because I can definitely see him becoming a teacher. I actually think he's a better leader than Will. I think Will's great. They're making him very unlikable. They really are. He was acting like a freaking child. So I thought that was really interesting how that all worked out. Now let's get to the Ryder stuff. This episode, Ryder was the main focus. I didn't expect this at all. I expected Will and Finn to be the main focus, but Ryder was actually the main focus. So Ryder is in this online relationship with this girl, Katie Featherston, and he's telling all this stuff to her, and it seems like everything's going well, and he and Unique are feuding. And he's feuding with everybody, basically. He and Unique are feuding because he tells Unique, are you a girl or are you a guy? And in the end, he apologizes for this, and I really love they gave some development to Unique. Unique feels more comfortable as a woman than he does as a, you know, male. He feels more comfortable that way, and really he tells him that, okay, if you want to be that way, I'm not going to tell you what to do. And he basically tells him he is a woman, basically. And I really enjoyed that scene, and we see that Unique was getting picked on by a bunch of students because he was he was in drag when he left, and people were picking on him. And I thought this was really great how they're giving Unique development, and that scene was just incredible. So many scenes are hard to watch in this episode, and really this episode, I forgot to say, it shows how mature Glee is getting. And I'm going to talk about that at the end of the episode, at the end of this review. But I really enjoyed how that all worked out. And then you have Jake and Ryder. Marley is very concerned about her and Jake. She doesn't really know where she stands, but in the end, she tells Jake that, she says to Jake, would you date anybody else? Would you have kissed another girl? And he says no. Well, we know Jake probably would have done that because he's probably still has feelings for Kitty. I'm sure he does. And I really love the scene at the end, though, where Ryder, I love the scene where Ryder's talking to Jake and he's saying our friendship is about trust and he's sorry. And then Kitty comes in and they said the 5 of them are going to be friends. They're all going to be friends. They're going to get along with each other because if you really think about it, these 5, after Blaine, Tina, Brittany, Sam, and Artie leave, these 5 are going to be the focus of McKinley. So, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens between all of them. Because they're the main focus of McKinley. They're going to be ruling the school. So we'll see what happens there. Now I want to talk about Blaine and Sue. I thought this was really funny. Sue basically tells Blaine that he had signed the contract to be a Cheerio, and now that he's quit, she wants him back. And Blaine is doing all he can to say, no, I'm not coming back. And I love the song. I thought it was so funny how that all worked. And she basically gets all these Nicki Minaj. She decides that she's going to have Mariah Carey versus Nicki Minaj with Blaine as Mariah Carey and Sue as Nicki Minaj. And she pretends to be Nicki Minaj. And they end up performing a song together. And Sue wins. But Blaine has a plan with Sam. He said he is going to find a way to take Sue down. Do I think he's going to be successful? I hope so. I'm really hoping that Blaine and Sam finally take Sue down. There have only been 2 people who have been able to do this, Will and Finn. Nobody else has been able to do it. I really hope Blaine can do this because I loved Sue from last season, and this Sue was absolutely hysterical. If we put these 2 Sues together, then I'll enjoy her character more. I love when Sue's hilarious, like in this episode, but I also love the tender, loving Sue that we saw in the 3rd season. So we just need to mash these 2 up together, like we did in like the 1st episode of season 4, and then I'll enjoy her more. So now I really want to talk about, what I really want to talk about the most in this episode is New York. New York was amazing in this episode. It was so amazing. So basically, we find out that Rachel is not pregnant. It was just a scare, which I'm so happy about because if they really were, I was really hoping they wouldn't make her pregnant because if they really were going to do that, it would have been ridiculous because we've already had Quinn pregnant and we don't need to have another character pregnant. So I'm glad it was just, but she decides that, Santana tells her this should be a wake-up call for you. You need to start, maybe you should stop doing what you're doing. And I like how Santana said that because it should be a wake-up call to Rachel. I mean, you're not pregnant, but you could have possibly been. What would you have done if you were? Would you have told Brody? Would you have kept it a secret? I mean, what would you have done? I still love Rachel, and she's still my favorite character on this show, and she's what makes this show. Rachel and Kurt and Santana still make this show, but they've turned Rachel into a slut. I love that she's starting to go back to her old roots, like she had her hair back the way it was in the beginning of the season, which I loved. It's not blonde hair highlights, and it's not all curly like it was, so I like that. I also loved the whole thing, so Santana basically decides that and we see now that Brody is a male prostitute. This is really showing how mature Glee is getting. That scene had to be a heartbreaker. That was really mature for Glee. I felt like they could have easily, I thought it was great, but the way they did it I didn't think was right. I thought it had to be a heartbreaker. It would have been a Brody and Rachel duet, which would have been them singing to each other and then they break up. I thought that's what it was going to be. But no, it's Brody singing to some random prostitute. Which was interesting because, I mean, some people are talking about, do you take Brody's side? I absolutely hate Brody after this episode. I know he's trying to pay for his college and tuition. Get a freaking job! You do not need to do this. I know he's not comfortable with doing it. Why the hell are you doing it? Get a freaking job. Okay, stop this. So far, all we've seen of Brody, they portrayed him in a very negative way, which I liked. So Santana decides to visit Rachel and Kurt's school, and she sings to Brody, cold-hearted, basically, and she gets a job, which we hear she got a job at Coyote Ugly, which is really interesting. I'm wanting to see how that's going to go. and Kurt and Rachel end up kicking her out, which I thought was funny. But some people are saying, do you think they should have, or do you not think they should have? I think they should have, because Santana can't just do what she did. You can't just walk up, Rachel and Kurt are right when they say this. You can't go into their school and do this. This is where they go to school. You can't just do this without them even telling you to. I mean, they were forced against their will, and they didn't even tell her she could do this. She really can't do this unless they tell her to, so I thought that was really interesting how that all worked out. And in the end, though, what happens is Santana ends up going to Brody, and Finn is there, and they end up in a big fist fight. This is the most violent scene in Glee history by far. The most violent scene, because there are lamps breaking. There are things breaking, and I thought there was going to be some blood, even. Because on the screen, it said TV14, SLDV, and I'm like, uh-oh, V means violence. And so I thought there was a big violent scene coming up, and it was still amazing. And I loved when Finn said to Brody, stay away from my future wife. And I absolutely love that, because they really need to get Rachel and Finn back together. I do not like Brody anymore. I hope he's gone, because Brody, even though he's trying to get his college tuition, don't be a gigolo. Really, you do not need to do this. It's really stupid in my opinion. But I love how Glee had this storyline where it was so deep and emotional, and I loved how deep it got. So for the most part, I love this episode. The episode basically ends with, oh, I forgot to talk about this part, with Ryder and the girl. The episode ends with Ryder on the chat on the computer saying, can we meet? And the girl doesn't answer, but behind him, he hears somebody else typing. This could be one of 4 people. It could be Unique, who I really think it is. Unique is telling him he has a crush on Ryder. It could be Marley. It could be Jake, or it could be Kitty. It could be one of those 4. And any of those 4 would work out perfectly. If it was Unique, I'm really hoping it's Unique. If it's Marley, great, because I'd really like to see some more Marley and Ryder. I don't think this storyline ends here. If it's Jake, I think Jake is going to basically tell it was something that Jake did, maybe, or set this with somebody up. And if it's Kitty, I think that could be interesting too, because I would really like to see some development in Kitty, which we kind of saw in this episode. So for the most part, who do you think this girl is? Who is Katie Featherston? Leave me a comment down below on who you think Katie Featherston is. That was very deep too. But for the most part, I love this episode. It was great. It was amazing. I just thought everything worked out perfectly. Now, the promo for the next episode seems very crazy, and I don't really know what to think of the next episode since it's Guilty Pleasures. Is it just going to be an episode full of people's guilty pleasures? It's going to be kind of interesting. I'm really looking forward to seeing the scene when Santana tells Rachel that her boyfriend, Brody, is a gigolo. I hear Finn's not in the next episode, which is going to be kind of a downer because I'm really starting to enjoy Finn a lot more in this episode, and in all the episodes of the season. I think that he's maturing a lot and really enjoying Finn. So that's basically what I thought of the episode. Now I want to talk about how mature this show is getting. This episode really showed Glee can do drama well. The breakup, Swan Song, my 4 favorite episodes of the show. The breakup, Thanksgiving, Swan Song, I Do, and this episode all prove the same thing. You can have these deep storylines, and they can be absolutely amazing. I mean, if Corey Monteith does not win something at the People's Choice Awards or Emmys, I don't know what will. Because that scene was amazing. I just loved it. So, great episode. I really enjoyed it, and I cannot wait for the next episode. That is it for my review. Glee Season 4, Episode 16, Feud. Let me know what you guys thought of it. Who is Katie Featherston? That's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed. See you guys next time. Bye!